Hello, welcome to the Teen Sunday School class. Well, sort of. It's recorded, and hopefully our teens will watch this. And I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day, and I certainly look forward to seeing you all in person, and look forward to being a part of your lives. And as we go forward in the youth group together. And I want to encourage you to invite others when that day comes. I wish I could tell you when that would be, but I don't know. I do know we'll have regular services starting this Sunday with the morning and evening service. Of course, there are no other activities outside of that, and some will continue to watch online, and others will come in and exercise all the safety precautions that have been recommended to us all. Last week, I started this new series on members one of another, and you'll learn quickly that as you look at your books and you see how the outlines are laid out for the subject matter, like in this first lesson, there's three main points. You have the warning of believers, and I'm going to finish that up and then work into the second point as well, and then so on and so forth. But we're looking at probably in a situation like these lessons, and I'm trying to help you stay on track by the recordings, at least one a week, that we would have, if you have three main points, it's probably going to be 3 weeks of lessons. And I want it to be a help to you. And again, I'm praying for you. My wife's praying for you. And we thank God for you and look forward to spending some time together. I do have plans for us and some things that'll be new and it'll be challenging and helpful, and we look forward to all of that. Well, let's pick up where we left off. We left off with point number 1 in our book, chapter number 1, a warning of believers. And there are certain warnings that we find in the Bible, and it's for our own good. When God warns us of something, He really is He's protecting us for something that He has that's far better than what we might imagine or think. I'm going to begin reading, so if you've got your Bible in hand, we're going to be in Romans 12, and I'm going to read verse 1 through verse 5 of Romans 12. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. And I think I mentioned last lesson not to think more highly of ourselves as we ought to. And honestly, it's a difficult thing, because we all battle the sin of pride. And pride says, hey, I want to be noticed. I want to be applauded. I want to get the attention. And, that's normal. But here's the thing. Is it the best? No. Pride hurts. Not only does it hurt ourselves, I think it forfeits relationships, because no one enjoys being around somebody that's always tooting their own horn, always talking about themselves and their accomplishments. And by the way, anybody could be guilty of that desire for us. And so we look at our lesson and we see that we do live in a culture that's very much selfish. But if there's anything I could, give you as good advice as a young person growing up into adulthood, is to be grateful for the opportunities, be grateful for the friends you do have, and be grateful to God for the blessings. I just believe that gratitude goes a long ways, and I know the Lord's looking to us to show gratitude back to Him for all that He has done for us. And we ought to show gratitude to those around us for what they're doing, how they've invested in us, and likewise. And one of the greatest ways that you can show gratefulness as you grow and mature in the Lord, that you're doing some of the same things for other people that people have done for you to help you. So it's not just a receiving, but more of a giving. And I say that because we live in such an egocentric society, and boy, everybody's got an ego, and boy, sometimes we just don't like for anybody to hinder that. One man was gone away to speak in a conference, and his wife went with him as he was to preach in this meeting. And the host pastor got up and introduced him and said, "Oh, it's great to have this wonderful preacher with us tonight," and just went on and on and on. So after the service was done, they're in the car, they're going back home. He was certainly thinking about all that was said to introduce him. And he says to his wife, "Well, how many great preachers do you think were at the meeting tonight?" And she said, "One less than you do." And so probably not what he wanted to hear, but it was what he needed to hear to be reminded. We're not as great as we think we are, but I will say this. You are great in the sense that you're valuable to God, and God is concerned about you. I think what I'm trying to say is greatness isn't something that you determine about yourself. It's something that God sees in us, because he says, "Humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt you in due time." God will lift us up. And by the way, the Bible also talks about, "Let another man praise thee, not thy own mouth." God knows how to elevate people who've been faithful, who've been diligent and good stewards. God will put people in your life that will they will praise what you've done. If you've done a good job, or you've done something that was evidently a help and benefit to others. So we just need to be clear about that, because if we're going to build strong relationships, there's certain things that we have to understand. And I think the warning about pride is certainly one thing we should cover, because faulty thinking we can be guilty of, and then forgetful thinking. And let us not be forgetful. We don't forget the abilities and the gifts and the opportunities that we have. It came from God. I'm thankful that the Lord's allowed me to do so many things and to be a part of so many different people's lives. And if I never dreamed when I was 17 years old, 18 years old, I had no idea that I would have the opportunity to get to know so many people and get to interact with so many people and be a part of people's lives. And wow, it's overwhelming to stop and think about those things. But don't forget where great things come from. James 1:17 is a great reminder. It's probably in your notebook there. "Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning." And then Ephesians chapter 4, verse 7 there. "But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ." And so here we see this warning to believers. Number two, the wonder of believers. It really is. It's a wonder that God puts up with us, and that he shows so much mercy and long suffering toward us. And some people think that, well, I'm not important. Let me just say this. Everybody's important. As we think about members one of another, we think about our text in Romans 12, we think about the body itself has many members, your fingers, your hands, your toes, your feet, your legs, all of that. And we know that if one is hurting, it affects more than just that one area, and it can even hinder our overall being. And so the reason I bring that up is because sometimes we don't feel adequate, or we don't feel accepted. We might not, and I think a lot of people do struggle with that, about being accepted. And I think that's why you see a lot of weird behavior out of people, because they're just trying to find something that kind of gives them an acceptance among those that maybe they look up to, or they fear, or they just are trying to make sure they don't become a castaway. So they get into all kinds of things trying to be accepted of others. And let me just say this. when it comes to acceptance, if the Lord accepts us, then really that's all that matters. And I look at it this way. If God's accepting of me and he's accepting of what I'm doing, then I don't have to really be concerned with how other people see me. I want him to be pleased. But lots of things happen. One thing's for sure. When the Lord said he adds to the church daily, think about this. He doesn't add people that have no purpose. He has a purpose for every addition. It's just like your body. There are so many different facets of your body that God designed and placed there for specific reasons. Some parts of the body, everybody sees. People, they identify with you based on what they see. But let's face it, the things they don't see is really what keeps the things that you do see going. Let me explain. My hands, I talk with my hands. You do the same probably. We make facial expressions. We have inflection of voice. We use our eyes. We use nonverbal communication. We do all these things. And by the way, all these things are important. But none of it would happen without the things you don't see. You don't see my heart. You don't see my lungs. You don't see the brain matter there. You don't see any of that. But it's all vital. And so it is in the Christian life. And so it is in the youth group. And so it is in the workplace. A lot of times, the people who have the greatest impact are not the people that you see. Some of the people who have the greatest impact are people that you never know that they're doing things, and they are vital. Obviously, you and I would not breathe another moment without our heart and the brain that's as the nucleus of it all to send all the signals to where things need to go to tell them you got to work. All the vital things are not seen by man, but the things that are, they're only there because of what's not. And I wanted to labor on that because I don't want you to ever feel like you're not an important part of the church or an important part of the youth group. Everybody's important because there's something that you can do that I can't. There's things I can do that you can't. That's just how it is. God made us all different, and he gave us different abilities. And be glad that he has allowed you and he's allowed others to be a part of things. And so we look at these essential things. Let's look, if you would, if you'll turn to 1 Corinthians 12, we're going to look at verse 14 through 20 there. It says, "For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath God set the members, every one of them, in the body, as it hath pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet one body." And we're all different. But yet there ought to be unity. Let me just say this. We ought to get along with each other. There ought to be a sweet spirit. Ought to be a kind spirit. Let me say this. We ought to have an including spirit. We ought to include people. Hey, don't go off to the side and just form your little clique that nobody else is welcome, your little secretive club. Why? Because one is bad practice, bad ethics, and will not take you very far in your adult life. Because if you take that type of mentality into your adult life, you not only are going to isolate yourself, you're going to limit the possibilities for advancement because you have pulled aside to do your own thing and exclude so many others, and just you've got that little niche there, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous in a church. It's dangerous in a youth group. It's dangerous at the workplace. I took an interview test years ago as a college student. I was trying to get hired on at a Japanese automotive company. They made parts there. And one of the questions that they asked, would you rather work by yourself or work with others? Now, I'm just going to tell you what the right answer is. I'm not going to tell you what I said. The right answer is it's better to work together. What I did not understand as a 19-year-old was the fact that two people working together will accomplish more than if you separated those two people and gave them two different jobs. If you put them together to work as a unit, it's something called in the workplace or in corporate America, they would call it synergy. That means more is accomplished people together than if they were separated and given different things. And so really, life's relationships and being part of a church or whatever, your family, is teamwork. And you may hear me say this often, teamwork makes the dream work. And I want to see you advance, and I know God does. But it's going to take us understanding the unity of the whole body and working together. A football team, you got 11 players on defense, 11 players on offense, and those two going at it together. When one scores, it's not all about one person. It's about a group. It's about a team effort. It's about many people working together. When man stepped on the moon for the first time, it was more than just those who were in space. There were hundreds of thousands of people for over a decade preparing for that one moment. We're talking about 300 to 400,000 people over a 10-year span or more that were preparing for that day. And great mighty things do happen in life, but don't ever get the idea that it happened because of one. It happens because we as God's children work together with other children of God, and we're accomplishing His will for our life. Ephesians 4 and verse 3 says, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. And it ought to be something very important to us to be unified and to encourage one another and to be a blessing to one another. And that's what I want to be to you. I'm going to close with that thought. I want to be a blessing to you. Now, if I can help you and I can answer your questions, you'd like to send me an email or text or call or whatever, I'm available. My wife will make herself available. And we look forward to what the Lord's going to do in our lives and in your lives. And may the Lord bless you and have a wonderful day.